All right, so we are live. So welcome everybody. This is episode 54. The celebrating the brand ambassador. I know I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here. I love tequila. First of all, it's my favorite spirit. Is definitely like agave spirits in general are my jam. Like if you ask, Philip, who drinks with me often, that's my go-to. If I'm not drinking a gin martini, I'm drinking probably tequila just neat. So very excited to be here with the two of you and all about all things tequila. So let me introduce my guest. So I am here with Alan Ruesga-Pelayo. Am I saying that correctly?
Almost.
Almost? All right.
Alan Ruesga-Pelayo.
Ruesga-Pelayo.
Oh, yeah, you nailed it. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The North American brand ambassador for Tequila Cazadores. And I am also here with the newly appointed Lauren Mote, the Global Director of Trade of Excellence Programming. It's the best title ever. I mean, come on.
I've got this like track record of most amazing job titles where everyone has to take a second look and they're like, we're not actually sure we know what that is. Let's dig into that. It's the conversation starter. It's like having the name tag,
It definitely is. I tell people, I'm like, I've just given myself titles. My company be like, what do you? I'm like, does this title work for you? And works for me. They're like, sure, that sounds good. I'm like, doesn't even do a job, but it's a great title. So I want to jump in, and this is how I always like to start because I can never explain anybody's job as well as they can. And Daniel wants to let you know your dog is so cute. Thank you,
DDO, I just moved in front of her because she was licking herself.
Things we have to do, she's like, let me just cover that up.
I'm just gonna move in front.
Like to keep it PG here, Lauren. Not really. But I was gonna say, because the one thing I've discovered through all of these interviews is that it is a nice job title. It's a great way to keep the conversation tight. So true, Joel. So very true. So is the job of the brand ambassador, and Lauren, you obviously have a job of doing other things beyond that, but is different for everybody. And as we said, a title can mean anything. You never know what that actually entails. So feel free to elaborate, Alan, of like all your responsibilities, because I think it's really important for people to understand, brand owners, other brand ambassadors, people thinking about what exactly this job could mean, like what you could be, what are all the crazy things you're doing. So tell me, like, where do you
all the secrets?
How long have you been doing this?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Lane. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm super excited. I've been following this podcast video with some other great brand ambassadors. So it's always looking the opportunity to be here. So finally, yeah, super happy. And with Lauren, which is amazing.
Yeah. And that was totally coincidental. Like you guys just happened to pick the same day. I was like, well, this is perfect. Like
keep it in the family.
It was meant to be. It was meant to
be. Great. So yes, my name is Alan Ruesga-Pelayo. I am the North America Tequila Cazadores brand ambassador. I born and raised in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I moved to the US when I was 21, like 20 years ago. and I always been working in the restaurant industry. That's how I fell in love. I came to the US to look for a kind of summer job, and I ended working in the restaurant industry, and it was just like I don't know, like not an accident, maybe it was a destiny. But I work every single position in the restaurant industry, from busboy, in the kitchen, dishwasher, bar back, bartender, and mostly my experience, which it was in Washington, D.C., I was managing restaurants. I was assistant general manager. I was general manager for some restaurants. And then I decided to relocate to New York City because New York City is where, we have one of the best. So I wanted to go into that challenge. And I ended working at really cool restaurants and bars, some of them, the best in the world. I had the opportunity to open great hotels like at the Edition Hotel and the Clock Tower. Nice. I was the beverage manager at Cosme. I work at Dante and Dante Genuine, which it was #1 best in the world, and work at Seamstress, badass bar in Upper East Side with an amazing talent. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I decide to pursue the career as a brand ambassador. And I start a little knocking doors until I met Manny Hinojosa, the global brand ambassador of Tequila Cazadores. He was doing an event at Leyenda, and it was through USVG. And I went there, and he was just talking about the brand. And I was like, who is that guy? I want his job. And basically, I started talking with Colin Apia, with some of the portfolio brand ambassadors, and the opportunity was not open. But a year later, I was bartending at Seamstress, and they walk in and they told me, Alan, the position is finally open. And 4 years later, I'm here. Yes, wow. Yes, yeah. And it is such a pleasure, no? Because for me, I remember when I had this interview process in Miami, which are the headquarters. They were, asking a lot of questions, but then almost at the end, they were like, Alan, really, why do you really want to become Tequila Cazadores brand ambassador? And I was very easy. I'm from Mexico, born and raised in Mexico. And for me, I do remember being at my parents' house. I remember being at my grandparents' house, at my uncle's parties, and me and my friends, we always been enjoying Tequila Cazadores. It's something which is part of my history. So for me, seriously, it is an honor to represent Tequila Cazadores in North America. One of the things that I believe that for me representing Tequila Cazadores, I represent, the brand, the 100 years of history of Tequila Cazadores. Yep. And then also I feel like I'm representing the category, which right now the category tequila is just exploding all over the globe. I think we're living an amazing time, and I'm very glad that we are all part of this tequila category.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to weave those in. Yes. Where we
and then what I do? Yes, I forget.
And so I want you to. What do you do? So 4 years you've been at the job. Tell us, what are some of your responsibility as a brand ambassador? And you cover.
As a brand ambassador, I am educator basically. Okay. I educate all about tequila as a category and Tequila Cazadores. So I travel all over North America to do that, and my audience, of who are people I do my educational trainings, it is for trade. So basically it is bars, restaurants, hotels, and some liquor stores. And then also I like to, and my responsibilities is also train to the Bacardi sales team, and also our distributors, which in case in the US and Canada is Southern Wine, Glacier, and Spirits. So that's mostly on my agenda, traveling. But then also I work very close to the brand team who they are based in Miami. I have most of the days tons of phone calls, video conference to try to think what we want to do so every fiscal year. So basically we're trying to see how we divide the fiscal year, and we're trying to see what is the important moments through the year. And we're talking about Fiestas Patrias, Mexican Independence Day, Dia de Muertos. We're talking about Margarita month. That's what we do. Instead of one day, we do the entire month. Yep. And then also, Dia de Muertos, which is super important. It's around the corner. And for me, it gives me so much joy to be part of these programs because, it's my roots, no? And then I will just be like, oh, this is what we're supposed to do. And this is authentic. This is genuine. This is maybe for another country and things like that, no?
I love it. I think that's fantastic. So, and I also jealous, and I'm sure many brand ambassadors are, that your job is mainly focused around education, and that you get to work a lot with the brand team, because I think that's the ideal position to kind of be in, where you get to be part of what's the programming is going to be happening, and to be part of the process, and then also to spend most of your time just educating about some people, things that you love. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. I'm going to drop it over to Lauren So Lauren, as we said, you are the global director of on-trade excellence programming. I just want to, like, I could say that all day. I love it. It just rolls off. And I think it's such an impressive title. So tell us what that role entails. Like, what exactly does that mean? And please feel free to expand.
Listen, in the words of Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So to give like these big job titles, I mean, it makes me feel very excited with the challenge and the responsibility ahead. But with that, it's like, what is the responsibility that I need to? I almost like caught my constituents. It's like, I come from the trade. I was a bartender for, well, I suppose this year is 22 years, and then 26 years in the industry. So, I mean, I owe a huge amount of programming to the community that I represent and that I come from. And it's not just, you know, in terms of North America markets like Canada and the US, where I spent most of my life, but it's more, you know, the rest of the world. We've got amazing bartenders and brand ambassadors around the world, and all of them are owed the opportunity to be connected in this global community, to learn from each other and network together, to develop opportunities together. So I suppose as my time as a brand ambassador had come to a close at the end of 2021, I was working across 12 brands at that point for almost 7 years. And then starting 2022, just to focus on, and I'm with both of you on this, with agave spirits, my favorite category. It's the category that I'm seen drinking most often and recommending most often. And of course, working with the mastery of a brand like Tequila Patron is a huge dream. When I think about the opportunity to develop bartenders and to develop advocacy programming and to develop brand ambassadors in a way that celebrates not only where our industry has come from, but also where we plan to go together, it makes me very, very proud that I can help construct what that future looks like with some really, really great people on a worldwide team. And so what I'm most excited about with working on Patron and in this director role now is that we have so many people sitting at our table now worldwide, giving very interesting and often different opinions about where they see education going, where they see the drinks industry going, where they say the tequila category is going. And we're able to bring all of those ideas together to make a really cohesive and really inspiring plan of where we want to take advocacy in the next several years.
Fantastic. I love that. Sounds like the best job ever. And you're definitely
very excited for
it. It sounds like an incredible role. And I know it's kind of, it's new. You're only, what, a couple of months now, 3 or 4?
Yeah, it's like since April.
Yeah.
You know,
okay. Yeah.
it's
More.
Oh yeah. And congrats for the Tales of the Cocktail Award.
Hey, very well deserved.
Yeah.
Again, constituents, it's like all of these people. It's like, what do? We get these awards and titles and different things that we work so hard for, but what we do with it for the future is what really, really matters.
Well, that's what makes you you. So let's talk about that, because, you know, you were talking about that you were a brand ambassador, you know, up till 2021, and you have, I mean, you have you're the co-founder of a few different companies, including a bitters company and a women's something.
Women Celebrate. It's a social enterprise on social media just for sharing great stories and inspiration.
I love that. And, you know, and because people, you know, within the industry, you know, you get to a certain point, if you've been a brand ambassador for a while, and Alan, you have a while to get there, but you're still new, you're only a couple of years in, but you know, the next step in your career, you know, you get to a point, right? I remember getting to my own point where I had worked in many different roles in marketing and communications and events. And then I became the brand ambassador mixologist. And I always reinvented my own title. And then I actually got to a point where I was like, there was no place for me to go, like in the company and the agency. And I eventually had to leave, and I ended up working in the beer industry because they came after me, and I was very grateful for it. But, you know, it's a common discussion. So you've worked in multiple different things. You're a co-founder in multiple different companies. Obviously, there's skill sets that you've had to develop, and a little bit of experience you've had to develop over the years to get to feel confident to be in the role that you are in, to be hired for the role that you are in? So I know it's a big question, but could you share just some of the different roles you might have had, and then some of the skill sets you think you gained from them that you realize that has helped you now do the job you have now?
Sure. Yeah, it's a big, juicy question, and it's one that I'm asked frequently, and one that I love to answer because I don't think it's a one size fits all approach for anybody.
No.
I think when you end up joining this industry in the first place, or really any industry that is public facing, so any moment where you have consistent one-on-one daily interaction with other humans, with other people, I think you have to have a major passion and a really authentic part of yourself that you give every day as starting in those positions. So I think that's just the starting point. And I think based on the variety of the directions that you can go, you might think that you have maybe a partial skill set to go in a direction of opening a bar, becoming a bar manager, or becoming like maybe a general manager, multiple outlet manager, or brand ambassador, or marketing manager. Like, there's so many ways that we can go in this industry, part one. So that's actually a really cool distinction to make as well, that for anybody tuning in and listening to this, whatever direction you decide to go in the drinks industry, there is like an a la carte menu at your dessert bar for toppings of what you want to do in this industry. And so for me, I was more connected to the things that I didn't want to miss out on, to make sure that they weren't the things I wanted to focus on. So I ended up spending a lot of money on student loans that I only just paid off after 15 years. So I would go to university. I don't come from like money at all in my family. So anything that I do, I would have to pay for myself. So went to university and studied computer programming. I hated it, even though I loved learning it. It was like learning a language. So I took the best parts of that and kept it in my head. Next, I went to, so that was a college course. Then I went to university and studied international relations and peace and conflict studies, because I was intending to go to law school. Now, I didn't want to actually go to law school for another 3 years because I was working in the industry at the same time. And I figured out learning about international cultures and having the cultural sensitivity and the nuances for language, storytelling, communication, I ended up folding a lot of that into what I was doing in the industry already. So then I thought, can't I just explore this further? And then I sort of continued to move into training, then management, then business management. And then creativity was always part of it in terms of making drinks and creating menus. But then it became a bit more like developing business plans, because the menus would fall into that. And for any bar managers and beverage directors listening in, and also brand ambassadors, the creative part of what we do represents a very small slice on that pie chart. And the admin and the business focus is such a significant part. And so I wanted to take maybe small certifications or other courses that would help strengthen my expertise in some of those like different areas of the industry that would just make me a better manager, a better mentor, a better friend. And then I too had mentors that I was leaning on to help guide me on what things I should focus on honing in or developing a greater expertise on. And so eventually when I decided to leave the industry and join more of the brand side, I had an idea that I understood the commercial side because I was working in bars and restaurants. And so you understand it from that point of view. But then there was the marketing part. Do I want to be involved in marketing in a way that maybe delivers marketing to my audience, like the audience I represent, rather than the audience the brand is focused on? So that was my big thing and unlock, was that I wanted to go in that direction. And so, oh, it's the door. And then in order to be taken seriously, so this is my last one before I get the door. In order to be taken seriously, I needed to be able to have a certification that said, I knew what I was talking about. Listen to me. I'm not yelling. I'm simply having a conversation, and I know what I'm talking about. And that was my digital marketing degree. I'll be right back.
No worries. Sorry. Well, Alan, while you're going, I was going to say, once you get to the door, it's for you. I mean, you've been a brand ambassador for a few years. I'm sure you've picked up some skill sets along the way that you didn't have before you became a brand ambassador. I'm filling in with Alan for a second, but I definitely want to continue. So I was asking Alan, what were some skill sets that you had to learn when you became a brand ambassador that you might not have had before?
For me, it was the storytelling. We always, when I was part of being a manager and beverage manager, or even bartender, now this is what we do. We tell stories. And for me, when I go walk into a bar and I see all these bottles, for me, each bottle, it means a story. Each bottle has their own story. And for me, it could translate to different language, and if you don't practice that language, you forget about it. So that's why for me, when I walk into a bar and I talk about my brand, Tequila Cazadores, is practicing this language. Otherwise, you're going to forget about it. Like I am very lucky that I really know too, but it's if I don't practice it, I will sleep on my head. And I think that was, and I have to do it the proper way because you have a limited time, right? Sometimes you have an hour, sometimes you have 5 minutes. So you have to kind of read the audience, who you're talking to, and trying to just talk to that language with that person. So I think for me, it was the hard part.
Yeah, no, it can be hard for people, like realizing that you don't always have to go down the rabbit hole to prove that you know a lot of stuff. I think that that's a hole that I hear a lot of brand ambassadors talking about. They're like, yeah, I was giving this presentation and then I just wanted to prove that I was like, I knew my stuff. So I was talking about yeast and fermentation and like distillation, and I was going down, and I looked at my audience and they were like, going down because I had, and it took me a while to realize you don't have to do that. You don't have to prove. They already assume you know your stuff. You don't have to prove it. But read the room, know who your audience is and what level they're at, and ask a few questions like, hey, who's there? And then, adjust your presentation. I think that is a hard lesson that many people learn, a couple of times, about a year in. So if you're listening to this, don't wait a year, figure it out now, learn to adjust your presentation. So Laura, I'm going to jump back to you so we can finish it. And I know we can still talk more about this. So you were talking about, you got your digital marketing, which actually I'm taking digital. That's what I'm taking right now, actually. It's a very worthwhile degree.
Yeah, it was an important one in terms of having the confidence to have conversations with people that were writing the messaging that would be delivered to the rest of the teams, that would end up taking action with brand ambassadors, advocacy teams, and how we communicate with people in bars and restaurants as well. So I thought it was a really good thing to focus on. And, even if you don't like pick up the book, it's not really a book, but even if you don't pick up the book every day and read it and say, today in digital marketing, I'm going to do the following. It's like, you end up taking the nuances of it because it's interesting, and you figure out how to make it applicable to what you're doing. And that's sort of a little bit what Alan was saying as well. Like there is no one size fits all approach. We are gathering all of this information and gathering as much as possible so we can be the best, most confident, happiest versions of ourselves, talking to the people that deserve more than perhaps what they've had in the past. Because if you think about yourself previously as a bartender, and you have these standout role models of how brand ambassadors have communicated with you, and you're like, this is amazing. It doesn't even matter what you're selling me right now. I will take it because you speak about it with such passion, with such authenticity and excitement that I trust you. And then there are other examples, not so much, where it's just delivered in a way that, wow, read the audience, everyone's asleep or they got up and left. So I think we don't really know a lot of the time what information and certifications or professional education we might need to go where we want to go, because a lot of us don't know where we want to go. We have very different journeys. We're all on very different paths. And I think we just need to be quite honest with ourselves along the way, perhaps with good mentorship, peer-to-peer mentorship on these are the directions that I would like to go. These are the things I'm most interested in. What do you think I need in order to get me there?
Yep.
Pause. I'm willing to put all the work in. So you don't tell me like, this is what you do. You say, these are my recommendations based on my own experience. Take what you want from it, but that's my recommendation. And then you do the work, you put the work in, and then you have the confidence to just deliver.
No, I think that's essential. A recommended, like, this is not the only path. This is just what I did and it worked for me. And I even give people like, this is what I did and it did not work for me because I tried that. But you're right. Putting the work in is key. It can be very frustrating sometimes if you give a lot of advice and then, you know, they're like, oh, it didn't work. I'm like, well, did you do the book or the course or the whatever? And it is more. It does take a lot of work. You know, I'm 51. You know, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am, and a lot of classes, a lot of courses, and a lot of reading, and a lot of, you know, mistakes. But, you know, it takes a long time.
And you're still going.
Still going.
It's a lifetime of learning.
It is.
We're all still going. Yeah.
Yeah. Always reinventing and just right. And I think I liked your point. You know, you had a goal, you had a mission, but in your head, I think there's something that was always kind of thread through. It's like you had a mission of like what you wanted to communicate to the trade. You came from the trade and you wanted to give back to them in a way that was authentic to you. And you kind of had an understanding of what that was. And also because sometimes the brand teams can have that disconnect because they're not in the trenches. They don't see it. And they know their job and they do it well. But having somebody who's actually come from that world who can, and they're listening to you. Same thing with you, Alan, like you're listening.
We're the bridge.
You're the bridge. And that's really important because not every companies do that. They don't always tap in to the resources at their fingertips, but also to your credit, Lauren, you also learn the language you need to speak for them to listen.
I was just going to say that. It's like the multilingualism. Like I look at Alan right now in awe because I know you speak more than one language, you know, fluently. And Elaine, I'm not sure if you speak more than one language fluently, but like I come from Canada. I should in theory speak fluent French. I don't. I speak a bit of French. Estoy aprendiendo español. So I'm speaking a little bit of Spanish, but I couldn't like deliver a presentation, but I speak corporate really well.
That is
so I'm bilingual. I am bilingual.
That is a bilingual, and it is. It's one of the things. As you know, I launched a brand ambassador academy, and that's probably my most popular workshop that I do is about speaking, how to talk corporate, and how to write corporate, how to talk to them, and actually a module I'm developing right now is actually how to take an idea, develop it into a strategy, and sell it to corporate. So it's like how to take it, because it's not an easy one to write. It's hard. I've been working on for a couple of months now. It's to break it down, but it is one of the most essential skills that you can have, because then they take you seriously. So, and Alan, I would love to dive in. And yeah, I speak Staten Island corporate, and and English, and I think sometimes basic English is what I got going on. But so Alan, you're working with the brand team, which is amazing that they are tapping into you. I know, I mean, is it a big brand team, small?
It's five people.
So you get to be in the meetings and the conversations.
Yes.
I'm sure you picked up a lot of knowledge now, like how they operate.
Yes, it's something that I ask. I got invited for a couple meetings. But for me, I got to walk into a new world that I never knew about it. And I feel that it's fascinating. And I wanted to, because for me that I'm representing the brand, I'm executing all these big events. And sometimes it's, I don't know that much what is all the progress to execute these programs, no? So for me right now, being involved and start with an idea and then going to the process and then execute it, that is another world, and brings a lot of pride and it feels so much gratitude for every single person and everybody who is involved around that, no? And you become to see everybody's appreciation of what they do, because sometimes working for a big company, sometimes you don't know who is who, like what they do, I don't know, and now I have like this opportunity and I love it. And it's a work in progress but it's something that brings me a lot of pride.
No, it's fantastic. It's what an incredible opportunity. It will make you such a valuable player in the industry to understand both sides of the world. And also, you'll probably pick up how to do that, like how to actually take it from start to finish. I think we already talked about why you left hospitality. It was very obvious. You wanted the job and you wanted to really get into tequila. But I did want to talk about it, and we already touched about it a little bit, because there is a big challenge when you take the leap from working behind a bar to suddenly becoming a brand ambassador. And I don't know if Lauren, if you can remember, like for you, if you had like, or before you spoke corporate, because I don't know if you've always spoke corporate, but before you've gone into that side working for yourself, was there, do you remember anything that was a bit challenging taking on that role? Oh, we lost her. No.
Oh, we don't hear you.
Nope.
It seems like it's mute.
If he fixes that, I'll let Alan talk, right? When Lauren, you fix your thing. So Alan, what do you remember? And Lauren, I'm sure she'll figure it out.
Am I back?
Yeah, there you are. Never mind.
Oh, okay, sweet. Jonathan. I'm just so this actually is
blame the husband. Just
this is always where my thing was going to start anyway. This whole next layer speech that I was going to give is that I think you do the best that you can based on the ambitions that you have. So, for example, back in 2010, yeah. Yes, we ask questions after, exactly. So back in 2010, when I was still bartending, I was still managing places in Vancouver, and I met Jonathan, my husband, and we decided we were going to open a business together. Our first business was a boutique catering and events company in Vancouver, which we opened in 2011. And then in 2012, we officially launched Bittered Sling that we had been working on for 2 years. And so we had now these 2 companies, and you'd be amazed, like first time entrepreneurs, it's so hard to even have one business. And here we are, we're like telling people we have 2 businesses. Oh yeah, we've got 2 businesses. We've got our retail manufacturing bitters line, which we knew nothing about manufacturing. And then we've got our catering and events company, which we knew everything about. And so I think over the course of 2010 to 2015, we were both working in different jobs, collecting a paycheck at the same time that we were running our 2 businesses. And we have sent, to your point, Elaine, I have sent a lot of what I thought to be very cheeky, playful, friendly emails that were absolutely inappropriately written. Just in terms of like when you respond to something without saying, hello, Elaine, comma, how are you today? How's the sunshine? Aren't you so happy it's the weekend? And then at the bottom, sincerely, sexily yours, Lauren, or whatever it is at the end. But you're just sending things from your iPhone. It's like one sentence, one curt sentence that you don't mean it in that way. So, so we're learning how to write business plans, how to develop a manufacturing product, how to work with governments, how to run our business, all the while still trying to maintain a paycheck and trying to write a marketing brand plan. We knew nothing about any of that. So I think when in 2015, when it was after I won World Class, I decided that I was probably going to work less and less in the bar and more in the education side. And I did that for 2 years as a consultant. And it gave me a little bit of that bridge period where I didn't have you stop full-time here and all of a sudden the next day you are full-time in a world that you don't really understand how to speak the language. I had a really great 2-year transition period, which was really helpful for me. And I'm sure very helpful for the people I was working with as well. It was much easier to work with. But I've always been a bit of a go-getter in that way. If you correct me on the spot and say, we don't really like communicate like that, or the language standard is, or, these are the types of ways, the hierarchy, ways of working, things like that. I'm super fine. As long as someone sends me a plan, like this is what it is, then I will learn that activity list and the directional list, and then I will apply accordingly. We call this the ways of working for anybody tuning in
Exactly.
that either understands
Taking
or
notes.
doesn't understand. The ways of working. And with every company, it's totally different, whether different corporate companies, different industries, different bars, corporate bars and restaurants, chains, they all have a very specific way of working. And it's up to us to give ourselves the time and the space and the freedom to fail and just allow ourselves to just pick up and learn as we go. And that's why that first 90-day period is so critical in everything that we do. But
great advice. It is true. You got to give yourself patience. And I like what you said. I'm up for criticism. Just tell me and accept you. I was like, oh, I didn't handle that well. Thank you so much for letting me know how I should handle it in the future. You have to have that attitude because you're going to make mistakes. You are, and it's okay. They're not going to fire you. Like, that's the one thing you have to realize. It takes a long time to find you. So they're going to have a little patience. It's going to take a while. You're going to have to really do something bad. For them, they're not going to fire you for this mistake or that. It's got to be something really, you really went off the grid. But you don't know that sometimes. And to your point, it's something you just have to be patient with it and let it kind of come and just figure it out and take all the information that you get from people. I mean, Diageo hired an etiquette coach for me. And they literally, I got the etiquette, it's Emily Post. I have it I was like, I learned so much. I grew up, I'm like you. I didn't come from money. I came from a family of 8 kids. I mean, we were brought up well, but, there were things I just did not know that you should or should not do because I wasn't socialized enough. I didn't have that besides the 8 of us. So there's just things you have to learn in life. And I was very grateful that I was able to get coaches to do that. And people taught me. Alan, for you, what was some of the things jumping in, when you became a brand ambassador, it can be kind of a shock. I've heard many different things. I didn't know how to organize my day. I had a boss.
Yes. It's sometimes I got very lucky because I have working for La Gran Familia. It's amazing experience because you have all these primos who are there willing to help. And sometimes you need to, it's like a big I'm coming from a big family too. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And in my family, when I have any kind of questions, I can ask any of my siblings, but I know who exactly asked for something specific. So I feel it's the same with La Gran Familia, with all these primos, everybody's willing to help. You just need to find out who actually to ask and trying to get that, help or that answer, whatever you were looking for. And I think for me, I felt that the same as in my family because that's where we are. And for me, it took me. I found out almost right away, and I felt it, and I still feeling it. Where everybody we're here just to help each other, and we are all happy to help and mentorship and give something in return, no?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. So you were completely fine. You just jumped right out of the barn. You started the brand ambassador job. You're like, I know exactly what I'm doing.
No. It was hard. But I have a lot of primos that help me. For me, the most from not traveling to traveling 85% of the time, that was a lot of adjustment that I couldn't sleep on the hotel. I wake up and I'm like, where I am. It's scary stuff there. And then just for me, I think it's creating an agenda. Sometimes you are so busy, you forget to eat, it's just I didn't eat until the entire day, and it's just kind of little details because at the end, everything is balanced, no? You have to take care of yourself, eating well, doing exercise, catch up with family, catch up with some people, even teammates or primos that you don't reach in too long, and trying to just go hey, how you doing?
Yeah. No, it's true. You can all get really, really busy. I will share you a quick story. It was one of the best answers to just give you an example of sometimes how people can be so thrown off. Missy Calcoffin, when she went to work for Del Maguey, which I know she's not working for it anymore, but she said, I literally thought I had already been fired because I started my first day and everybody that I worked for was traveling and nobody said anything to me. So I got my computer. I was like, hello, hello. And she's like, I worked from home. So nobody, no direction, nobody reached out to me. She's like, 2 days went by. And I was like, do I even have the job? Did I actually get the job? I don't know what happened. And then finally somebody's like, I'm so sorry, because they happened to just be out of range wherever they were. She said, yeah. So it's just, there is definitely, when you first start, sometimes there can be weird things that happen. And a lot of people talk about like having your own schedule now is a very hard thing. From going from a normal scheduled job sometimes can be a struggle. But yeah, everybody has their own thing. But I love that. I feel like the travel. Yeah, 85% travel is a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but it's all about travel with a style now.
Good for you. Good for you. That's the only kind of style traveling you should be doing.
Yeah.
Travel with 50-50 cancellation.
Oh yeah, my God. These days it's a little bit insane. All right, so you both came from the hospitality industry, and I asked this question because, you know, after having many conversations with very new brand ambassadors, and you know, I'm working with them, and they're going into accounts, and they forget almost where they came from. Sometimes they forget all the skill sets that they have. Like, they understand how to run a beverage program, they understand costing, and I'm like, so for me, I'm like, this is a value you can add, right, to this account if you're building that relationship. And so I don't know if you have, like, Lauren, when you're working with your brand, about like what advice you might give them, and Alan, you know, what are some of the skill sets you have found that are very valuable from your past that help you kind of build that relationships with accounts? Alan, I'll start with you first. Like, what do you use from your past life to work with an account? Because I think this is really important and a lot of people don't do.
I think no, 1,000%. That's a great question, because I think it's empathy. You know, for me, empathy is being in someone else's shoes, and this is for us, maybe for Lauren and all the three of us. You know, we've been there in those shoes. You know, we've been there in these long hours where you barely eat, where you are sometimes drinking too much, and you're a little hangover working, and somebody comes and trying to sell you something and tell you storytelling, and you're like, wait, can you bring tacos? and I think it's that, no, trying to understand what they're going through, and trying to you know, for me, I try to cheer them up. Like, you know, as soon as I walk in, it's like the big smiles, and sometimes bring a little gift, like some coffee, or sometimes I bring tacos. And
never wrong with tacos.
Yes. And I'm trying to, and again, we're talking back of, it's very interesting what you said, Lauren, about the languages and things like that. And I feel it's everything about languages and trying to speak their language, no, and trying to be there. And because sometimes even you go to the first time meeting someone, so we don't know each other, you don't know who you are and who they are, and as a former bar manager, tacos are important, yes. So at the end, it's just putting in someone else's shoes, seriously, and trying to understand that and be there. We are there to help them. No, they're here to just suck their blood. No, it's just like we're here to create something beautiful, and a relationship is the most important.
No, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And I actually do. I think actually bringing tacos and coffee and all that stuff is actually great advice. Probably a great allows them to kind of like, this guy gets it. You know, they understand, you know, what we're going through, and then we're probably hungry. You probably need some caffeine. And, you know, he's talking to me about tequila, but, you know, it's yeah, he also cares for my well-being. Lauren, do you have any advice? Like, and also if you guys want to spend like skill sets you might have had, like, you know, like from the back, like I find now today, there's a lot of green staff out there in the world, you know, who are brand new. They know nothing. And you got a lot of bar managers who are drowning out there because they are doing 16 jobs that they normally don't have to do because they have all this new staff. So, you know, is there anything like skill sets wise you think, you know, from your past you could actually help accounts with? Have you ever used that part, you know, like helping them with their menus or costing things out or anything like that?
I have a list.
You have a list.
I have a list.
I love it.
So I think first and foremost, the most important thing, and I agree 100% on what we're all saying here, is that our background in the industry is part of our superpower, but our big superpower is our unique identity that is unique to us. Each of the skill sets, each of the passions, each of the talents, each of the things that we're good at, that we're passionate about, and that we have yet to discover are the things that make us unique. And when you work for the right brand and you work for the right company, you're able to use that to evolve and develop it into really strong programming, into training that becomes best practice across your advocacy team. And you can develop a role that becomes a specialist. Because what I think is the most important is that each of us are using the things that we are good at based on our background. So whether you came from multiple outlet management, inventory management systems, training, coaching, feedback, whether it was being a cook or just in creative in developing really great cocktails, whether you were a total comedian and hilarious public speaker behind the bar who could run a service well like nobody's business. All of these things can help inform what your specialty is. And that's what makes the strength of a total ambassador team really powerful, because each person can specialize in something different, which gives them an individual opportunity to train on this new skill set to bring the rest of the team up to snuff in terms of something they might be missing or eager to learn. But never forgetting that your communication style and your ability to connect and build long-lasting lifetime relationships with bartenders and bar owners and operators is the reason why you're coming into that brand team, is because everyone wants to work together to be able to leverage your superpower. So don't forget that you're the one in that driver's seat with that specialty.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Your superpower is, you know, it is something that you need to develop. And I love your point about helping, you know, maybe training the rest of the team on that particular skill set, because everybody does have different strengths and weaknesses. And, you know, and you can use that superpower also to help your accounts, like to build that relationship. Like, hey, you have all those things, like, I could help out here. I'm actually really good at this particular thing. You know, would it be helpful for you that I could do this for your, you know, your bar, or your restaurant, and to become an asset to them. So you're not just a person giving them brand training or spirit training. They're like, oh, thank God, Alan's here. Like he really helped us with the last minute and costing it out. And he became like a one-stop shop, because I think it does also, using your superpower for good and for the benefit, right, of your team as well as the accounts, you become the person that they want to work with more.
Yes, that's true. And something that kind of reminds me, just to wrap up this, is sometimes you see opportunities that some other people don't see, because when you are in your establishment there and you are hours and hours and hours, some things just slice in your head. But when you walk in and you're not there as often, or you're there for the first time, you start looking around, you see the cocktail menu, you see what is behind the bar, you see the presentation of the cocktails, the garnishes and everything, and then you start seeing opportunities there, no? And it's something that respectfully you communicate to, you know, the bar manager, the head bartender, or the, you know, whoever is in charge, and you being like, hey, you know, I see like these kind of opportunities. And this is one of the things I love what I do, because I travel so much and I visit in so many restaurants and bars, and I see an amazing creations that it helps me to give and trying to someone give an opportunity to be on the same level of other ones that they're doing it, no? And then after that, after communicate that, I'm not going to just let them with idea. It's like you want it, let's make it happen. I connect you with a person and things like that and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, we have a new cocktail menu, you know?
Right. I think that's fantastic. And it is about, obviously approaching respectfully. And it's more about asking like, hey, I noticed you're doing this, and I think that's really great. I saw this thing, you know, this other bar that I think would work really well here. You know, do you want to hear about it? Because I think this could be an amazing opportunity for you to make more money. And it's all about how you approach it. It can't be like, your thing is shit. So this is this other thing. It is about sandwiching that. But yeah, I think that's amazing. That is a good skill, because you are seeing trends and other things that are being executed everywhere. And you can pick up all those best practices and be able to then help other bars execute them. Is, you know, that's an amazing skill set to have, a superpower. I like that way of saying it, Lauren. Yeah, I think
superpower. It's the way to go.
It is definitely the way to go. All right, so well, we're kind of building on that already, but what I was gonna say. Okay, so building your reputation. So I really think this is an important thing. Is both of you guys, been in Lauren, you've been as long as I have, even a little bit longer, and definitely have more diverse experiences. And Alan, you have diverse experience yourself, but you both have your own reputations within the industry. And Lauren is saying you got into digital marketing a little bit, it sounds like, because you saw how you wanted to get better at communicating for yourself, as well as how brands were communicating with others. Right? Did I translate that right? I think I got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, but it also is, I think it's really important to build your personal brand, to build your own brand, right, within the industry, to build your reputation, to get known for your superpower and for other things above and beyond just being the brand ambassador. And I think, you guys have done a good job of that. And Lauren, you definitely have, you've been out there, and my God, the amount of Instagram followers you have is insane, and a beautiful Instagram account. And just tell me some of the tactics, Lauren, that you have taken just to kind of get your name out there in the world, and why you think it's important. Because I also think it's important for brands to support their brand ambassadors to be doing that as well. Because I think as your reputation grows, people want you more. They're like, oh my God, Alan's coming to our bar. Or the distributor's like, oh my God, I can't wait to see, you coming in, because your reputation has gotten to that level that they're excited, and it's only beneficial for everybody. So Lauren, for you, what are some things you've done, and why do you think it's important?
These are like
recommend?
Very big, juicy questions. Yeah.
Sorry, I know.
No. They're really good. They're just very long answers. So I will try and summarize as best I can. But I would say that for me, I always wanted to make sure that I had a pristine reputation, that the things that I stood for were the things that people knew about me. And even though I have made mistakes, I've fallen flat on my face, and I've fallen flat on my face publicly, I will stand up and I will own that defeat and just say, I'm super defeated by this, but I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to move on. And I think, having the humility to be able to do that is really important, and not to be afraid to fail and learn in that way. It's funny about the digital marketing and Instagram are actually kind of tied together for me, and not just because they actually are tied together, but in the way that I came to discover both. So social media was always the freebie way until they started really charging heavily for paid media and boosting posts and different things like that. But in the last 15 years, I would say, since Facebook started, for young businesses that had absolutely no marketing budget, when you said, do you have a marketing budget? And they say, what's that? Because everything is going to food costs, beverage costs, payroll, and will the restaurant and bar actually be open next year? Is there any profit at all? Anybody?
Yeah.
I think there's, we use social media in the beginning as almost a replacement for PR and comms. And I think from there, it started to evolve that anyone with an Instagram or a Facebook account or a Twitter account started to evolve to become a specialist in communications. Whether it was the right way to do it or not, it was how we were building our presence. And I think just over time, we all have to face the harsh reality that the technology is changing, the tech pieces are changing, the business is changing, the world is changing, and we do have to change with it. And so taking a digital marketing degree to be more agile to what the world will become is entirely important for me and how I present myself on social media, to make sure that the things that I stand for in the industry that I think are important topics to share are not just a representation of what I think. They're a representation of the groups that I represent and highlight to put their messages out there too. So I think that it is a total waste to have an Instagram channel with a ton of followers with low engagement when you're talking about things that actually really matter in the lives of the people that you represent. And so that to me was part one. And the second part of that was being able to translate that into how we become better brand storytellers, how we become better at celebrating the people and the cultures related to our brands, appreciating and celebrating where these brands and these stories have come from and the people that are behind them, has been really important. And I think hiring and training brand ambassadors and anybody else that's sort of public facing and actually internal as well, everyone should be feeling that that the brands and the companies that they work for represent their values and where they wish to be, because we do spend 75% of our lives in the workplace. So I actually don't know if that actually answered your question or not.
Well, you dove off into another question, but I liked it. I think everything you talked about.
I'm like, what was the question originally?
Yeah, it was a big. I'm sorry, I put it out there. It was too big, but I talked about your. I love the fact you tied in the digital marketing, which is true. I think it's a very important thing. It's why I'm actually getting a degree in it myself. And it is also very important to work for brands that have the same values as you and making sure that you are representing the people behind those values and the culture that you're representing in the right way. Which all very good points. The other point was, the question is, as well, is building your own brand. So and you started off with your reputation, like making sure that you owned everything you ever did, win or fail. And, I think was really important. But there's also things that as a brand ambassador, right? You're representing this brand, you're putting it out there in the world, but you also have to get people. You could just do that job very well and be out there. But there's also things you can do for yourself. Like you have a bitters company, you co-founder of another company, why is that important for people to put themselves out there? And what are some examples of things that they can do that you think people can do, so people can start to understand, I recognize that person. I've seen that person and I get to know them differently from outside their job. Like they're not only just the Cazadores brand ambassador, but also they speak about this, or they're a great speaker, or they're really reliable, or whatever it may be. So that was my question.
Okay. Do you want me? Should I jump back in?
Okay. Jump back in, and I'll get to it.
Okay. I think that when you protect your reputation, you become a quality mark and a quality endorsement and a trusted endorsement for the things that you talk about, the brands you represent, and the people that are in your circle. So that was the advice my mother gave me a million years ago. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it never stops, and it takes seconds to destroy it. And so every decision, every choice that you make, every time you hit enter on a comment on social media, it's out there. Anything that your name is connected to, you just have to really make sure that it's fundamentally what you believe, and you're willing to stand by that until the end of the world, because it will stay out there forever, and your reputation will be intrinsically connected to that forever. But in terms of the things that you can do, I was, and Elaine and Alan, I'm sure you have felt this definitely. I am a Canadian bartender. I come from a country that was always connected in drinks industry as the small country just north of the US and not as Canada. So we had to struggle to really create an identity for ourselves as beverage professionals that could be standing shoulder to shoulder with our US brothers and sisters. The issue was that it was a lot longer to get there and to get the credibility as a professional bartender in the industry as it would have been had I actually grown up somewhere in the US and had connections to these bars. So I had to shamelessly reach out to everybody. I had to go to every festival where I had the ability to go, put everything on credit cards, maxed out credit cards, like to be able to just go and attend in the hopes that I would meet enough people that would remember my name, so that when they came to Canada, they would say, I know Lauren from Canada. I'm going to call her and say, where is she bartending? And I'm going to go and have a conversation with her or drink her drinks, or I'm going to call her and say, where's the list of the best places to drink in Canada? So it felt like it was intrinsically connected for many, many years. And I would never be able to say that I'm sat in the position that I'm in right now had I not gone through the last 26 years of industry, job here, job there, like meeting people, shamelessly running up to Elaine Duff, probably even 10 years ago, as a little puppy, tugging on her pant leg, saying, I want to meet you. I want to meet you. And I'm not sure how many times all of us have to meet each other before we really create a memory as I remember Lauren Mote from Canada. I remember Alan from Mexico. I remember Elaine from New York. It's just one of those things.
Takes me three times
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. And so that's what we go through. And actually, I just
and
wanted
doing
to share
world class didn't hurt. I mean, you did world class, which is a big thing. I mean, I think entering competitions is one of the best things as a bartender you can do to get your name out there, whether you win or not. It's the networking and just putting your name out there is pretty amazing. I mean, that definitely helped.
It's totally why I did it. I really did not want to do another competition. I did it specifically so I could be in a position to be auditioning for whatever the next thing was. The more people that knew me and saw what I could do, the better it was for me to have more options. And, we've just launched Patron Perfectionist for the next season just recently, and it's open until October 7th. And we are engaging with bartenders in 20 countries around the world for everyone to join the education, to join the contest, to see what it's like to join our Gran Familia, as Alan so poetically put it. And it's a massive, amazing family. And for those lucky enough to live in the US with our amazing, massive ambassador team as well on Patron and also on Cazadores, we have incredible people that are specialists in lots of different things that they specialized in when they were bartenders and running bars. So it's pretty cool.
No, it is cool. And I definitely think the competitions are such an amazing opportunity for bartenders out there in the world to get their name and build their reputation. And people always ask me sometimes what qualities I look for in brand ambassadors. And I say one of the first things I look for in your CV, did you enter competitions? Because it just shows, it's not because you didn't have to win. It was more, it just shows you have an entrepreneurial spirit and are willing to do work outside of your job, because competitions are a lot of work. Alan, for you, is there anything you do in your career now to kind of put yourself out there in the world above and beyond even your job, like just to kind of build, like you speak, social media, whatever it might be?
Yeah. Well, for me, I kind of something what Lauren was saying is that, well, for me, when I'm out there, no, it's just I'm meeting so many new people every day. And for me, it's very important to give, you never know who you're going to meet, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to all these situations. And for me, I treat everybody exactly the same, no? And for me, where I want them to get from me that I'm from Mexico and I'm a person who is, I'm very genuine, very authentic. I'm very passionate about tequila and all about tequila, which for me, it is Mexico, and it's all about it. It's gastronomy, it's music, it's sports, it's art. It's all about that, no? And it's what right now my focus is the most, where because we live in such an exciting times, and it's an amazing topic to talk because everybody's consuming an agave spirits, but they really know what is an agave spirits, what is the process, how you should enjoy it, and it's a lifestyle. So for me, I think that's one I'm trying to do the most. Of course, I like to have fun in social media. And for me, it's just to show what is the lifestyle for a brand ambassador, no? And for me, it's especially that I travel them so often, and it's so beautiful things, and make some great friends. And I'm just trying to share like those kind of spaces of it's a big community. It's a huge community, and anyone can be part of this community.
No, absolutely. And also you're building your reputation as a tequila expert, because I'm sure you don't just talk about your brand. As you said, you're talking about the processes and how tequila is made. And that's important. Like, that's building a reputation. It's like, it's like, he's the tequila expert. He's the person we should tap into, and that's an incredible thing. And it's bigger than the brand. It's bigger than the brand. You're building a reputation bigger than where you are, which is really, I think, an important thing for people as they grow in their careers. And I just want to briefly, because we're getting on the hour mark, but about the industry has obviously changed. So has it changed also for tequila? Like, obviously it's exploded, right? It's insane. And, Lauren, I know in Europe, tequila is still a growing category. In America, it's kind of gone off the hinge. When my mom group that I hang out with is drinking tequila and they have it on their bar, I know something's jumped the shark. It's like, all right, everybody's drinking tequila now. But I also find there's also, for you guys, where do you see, is there anything you fear about where tequila is going in this industry? Like, or what do you see that's going really well? And what were some things you would like to happen for the future of like the reputation of tequila? Because there's a lot of things, celebrities, everything else jumping in. So what do you see going well that you're really excited about? And what would you like to see happen, like in growth in Europe? Let's start with Europe. Like, where would you like to see tequila grow?
I have no fear. For me, it's really exciting to take a spirit category and to take a brand like Patron Tequila around the world to give an unobstructed opportunity to a bartender to pick up a beautiful brand that is rooted in craft and tradition, no additives, just a beautiful expression of the supernatural power of blue agave. And
brand ambassadorship right there.
Yeah,
give it the brand plug. There you go. Nicely done. Nicely done. Well fitted in there.
but to take that particular bottle, hand it to a bartender, and say, what is your interpretation of a tequila cocktail? And not say it needs to be this way or that way. It has to be a batanga. It has to be a margarita. It has to be this and that. Let the bartender discover for themselves the flavor, the occasion, the opportunity, the ingredients that go with it, a way of celebrating, where the brand has come from, rooted in Mexican culture, versus where they can take it when it starts to merge with their own culture. And that is the most exciting thing for me when I see those bottles coming around the world. And I think the one thing that I always fear is that we run out of product, because that's always the thing. It's I guess the catch-22 of it. The more people that get excited to drink your brand and to fall in love with where it could go, and the amount of support that the brand provides, our outlet managers, our customers, and our bartenders around the world, we on the other side have to make sure that we have enough supply to be able to support the hopes and dreams for all of these bartenders holding that bottle. And so my only fear is that, but on the same hand, we have another distillery that we're building behind the Hacienda Patron called Rosa de Castilla, which is all about replication, not automation. So taking all of the beautiful things that make Tequila Patron so special, from the blend of Tahona stone crushing and the roller mill, and how we make our silver tequila, and then the reposado añejo and the rest of the expressions, but being able to create that entire process once again to make sure that we stay true to our heritage and our cultural identity as being a very authentic, beautiful tequila to share with the world. And again, no additives. So we always want to make sure that we share that.
And Patron has come such a long way in building the reputation within the industry. It started off not as the most favorable when I first got into the industry, and to see it grow, and rightfully so. They've done such a good job of building its reputation and showing people what they do and how they do it authentically. So I think you can only build from there. So I think that's a great problem to have. And Alan, for you, what do you like about what's happening in the industry? And do you have any fears of just tequila in general, happening within the world? Where would you like to see it go? Like to continue growing?
Yeah. Well, what I love about this category is it's the fastest growing category that's been exist. And for me, it's just to think about it, where is the tequila's coming from? No, it's just talking about the tequila, and then it's coming from before vino de mezcal de tequila, and before that it's coming the pulque, and before that it's coming from Mesoamerica, no? And for me, something that Laura is saying, that I love that right now you can find a tequila globally, and right now people, they're trying to understanding, this is 100% blue Weber agave. This is a tequila mixto, no? What's the difference? Where is coming from? What is the process? So we as an ambassador, we are kind of, again, that bridge to trying to educate and get people to understand what is the roots of tequila. And I think more people, especially in the new generations, they're not drinking now, starting drinking, gin or vodka or rum. Right now, they're drinking just straight to the agave spirits. That, for me, I love it. It just is fascinating. Yes. And
Do you ever
Where,
find a challenge though? Because the one thing I see is that, you know, people are tending to drink. There's a lot of sweeter tequilas out there at the moment. And consumers have this kind of baseline of like, oh, that's what tequila, and then giving them a more authentic tequila like Patron or Cazadores, kind of you have to like bridge the gap sometimes. Is that ever a challenge for you?
yeah, I see some, some expressions. They are like to have a little more, they're trying to get a different, specific consumers, no? And then they're trying to do like a specific expressions. And at the end, I just tell to any consumers that are right there, it's just when you're about to enjoy an agave spirits, we have all a cell phone. We just can be like, hey, so what is this about? And please download tequilamatchmaker.com. You can find everything about every single tequila, because every single tequila, it has 4 digits, which it comes 4 digits. I see it, 4 digits. It's the Norma Mexicana. It's regulated by the Tequila Regulatory Council, and it tells you everything about the process, what is the distillery, how many tequilas are making the distillery, the process, the aging, what are the water source. And for me, trying to understand, then when you sip in it, once you know all the process, it's like, oh, this is why it tastes like this. And this is like, then you put the dots together. When I feel like some people, they're just judging from the same first sip, it's like, but do you know what is behind that?
Right. I think as they evolve, and I think that's great. So tequilamatch.com, and then looking up the gnome so they can actually understand it.
Tequilamatchmaker.com, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice as people. I think there's a lot of kind of beginner tequilas out there right now in the moment that people hear about because they're made by, we won't name names, but, people. And so they, they start there, and then it's, hopefully they evolve. Like as people like yourselves are out there, creating advocacy programs for tequila and educating people, they will start to they'll still appreciate that first one, but they'll also start to appreciate the other expressions of the other ones that have, maybe more herbaceousness and things of that nature. We can go down a rabbit hole. Oh, he's like, we're done. Go ahead, Lauren.
I have one thing before the rabbit hole closes. On that is that when you travel to tequilamatchmaker.com, for sure has lots of information, but also we offer a course that is in partnership with a CRT at Patron called the Award Tea Program, which is open to all bartenders can join. And all the information is on academiapatron.com, which is also where we have the Agave Masters course. Okay. So rather than taking like our word for it, like as people that work for brands, I mean, you should trust us because we're trustworthy, wonderful people. But also you can go to Tequila Matchmaker, great, but you should learn it for yourself and learn it. What is the saying? From the horse's mouth. If you want to learn it directly from the mouth of the regulatory council that manages tequila regulations and how your understanding of tequila can fit into that, then we definitely recommend that you take the Award Tea Program, and you can sign up for that on academiapatron.com.
That's an incredible resource. I love hearing that.
I'm sorry, guys.
See, I was going to get my. Where's
oh,
my
wow, he's got a certificate from there. Very nice. Congratulations.
I highly recommend it. It's amazing.
I'll share screen, my digital one, yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. Well, sadly, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up, and I always like to wrap it up with 2. I've actually added on to a question, but so one is first, both. What advice would you give to a new brand ambassador? So, Alan, I'll start with you.
I think really believe on your brand. Learn all about it, but connect to when you're taking this job, it's because it really needs to connect with you. You really need to believe in this brand. And if you are fully in, things are going to come naturally. They're going to come a lot of questions and challenges, but then because you are so inspired by this brand, you are loving this brand. So for me, that's where it gets you waking up every morning, giving and it's so much that you can do. And then also trying to give it priorities. No, it's you ending with a to-do list like this big and trying to do with priorities. take care of yourself. Seriously, take some me time, a lot of me time, and then enjoy it. Seriously, when you go on to connect with people, be yourself, breathe, make friends, and it's enjoy the ride. Seriously, it's an opportunity that not everybody can do it, but it takes it takes only the how you call it, the person, and not everybody has the personality. Everybody, well,
no, not everybody can do the job. The job is not for everybody, and I think your advice was solid in the fact that work for a brand that gets you out of the bed in the morning, jumps you. It comes, it's not like, oh, got to do that today. It's like you jump out of bed because you're so excited to work for that particular brand because you love it. And also taking me time and having balance is really, really important. Lauren,
sorry, I don't know, Sophie, it was you, Lane, or Lauren that were talking about it, that the brand, you're not going to get fired, you were saying.
Yeah.
And the brand is there to help you as much as you can. They want to mentorship you. They want to model you for you to be super successful. And then you're going to be very comfortable to go to anywhere, from a dive bar to hotels to restaurants and any kind of restaurants, and you're going to be there looking like a rock star or superpowers. Yeah,
I love that. That's fantastic. Your superpowers. All right, Lauren, what do you got?
Okay, I've got a few things. I'll go through really quickly though. So, full brand audit, and this should be before you go to the interview. Because it's not just about you being a fit for the brand. Is the brand a fit for you?
Yeah.
Part one. Always focusing on your professional development. Just because you start a new job and you're on a different career trajectory, do not forget about your own professional development within that. Read the brief. The brief in this case would be your job description. What are you being measured on that suggests what success looks like in your role, but use it as a guideline and always go above and beyond. And to that, make sure that you have constant check-ins with your line manager to make sure, and your coach or mentors or whomever, to make sure that you're always talking about the trajectory of your career so you can spot correct along the way. Because as you become successful and very good at one job, you might success yourself out of the job. So what is your next path from there, and being really clear on what your goals are. Take the first 90 days to learn. You don't have to have all the answers. As Alan was saying, the brand is here to help you. The team is here to help you, but it's always helpful to have a mentorship circle on the side of probably peer-to-peer mentors, as well as a brain pod or a brain trust of friends that you could trust with your life that you can pop, questions in to ask. And then lastly, it's okay to say, I'll get back to you. When you stand in front of a group of people and they ask you a tough question that might not be something you've been briefed on, or might be a question that you're not entirely comfortable that you'll give the right answer, you can always say, I want to make sure I give you the right information, so let me get back to you on that, and then make sure you get back to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And definitely, I especially love those last 2 points, because it's especially about the first 90 days and like using your source of mentors, because so many brand ambassadors I speak to, they talk about their first 9 and they almost kill themselves because they're trying to impress people, and they're like, so they're out there and they're constantly pushing too hard, and they overwhelm themselves. Because I'm like, you're not supposed to know how to do the job. It takes time. Like, it's going to take lots of time and lots of meetings and things of that nature. And yeah, getting back to you, it's something I'm still struggling with. I have this innate response to respond to something, and I like learning to be like, no, I actually don't know the answer to that question.
I'm the same way. It's like, I can't take my own advice. That's why I keep saying it over and over again on conversations like this.
I hope you think it. All right. So and then the last one is really one tidbit. If you could say, what advice would you give to those looking to hire a brand ambassador? Like, if you could give one bit of advice that they're going to hire a brand ambassador, is that too complicated for one bit?
No,
Go ahead, Alan. Go.
Okay. Go. No, and I think it's I have some friends and people that I know that they're ending working for a brand, and they don't have the right support sometimes, no, and they are like super lost. And I think that trust on the needs of the brand ambassador. If the brand ambassador asking for help, you better give it some help. You know, it's just, I think it's, and this is, again, we are the bridge between the brand and trade. So you should trust them 1,000%. Even if it doesn't make sense for them, it will make sense a lot of sense for trade. And even maybe that was the personality brand ambassador. That's where they want to be shine. That's where they want to connect. That's the way to connect with trade. So I think you should just trust to your brand ambassadors and pay them fairly, given all the how you say, like, insurance and things like that.
And resources, yeah. Make sure they're comfortable, yeah, and make sure they have everything they need to be able to do the job. And I agree with you. Trust your brand. Trust but verify, but trust that they might be just approaching in a different way. They're not supposed to be hardcore at selling. They're supposed to be building that relationship so that the brand, will evolve in their naturally. That's the word I was looking for. Lauren, what is your
diversity all the way? A diverse hiring team and a diverse department of individuals will hire diversity in the actual brand ambassadors and advocacy teams that represent them. So it is really important that when you're interviewing, you're calling on brands, you're looking at job descriptions, the people that work for the company should look like you. They should talk like you. There should be a representation of who you are within that team. And if there isn't, there's either a problem or it's time to search to a different brand and a different company, because it's really important that people are in safe places, able to do the job to the best of their ability, that have the training and the right support to be able to do their best work. And you can only do that if you've got a diverse team of people beside you and behind you to support you along the way, because inclusion is everything. And it's really, really, really important. So that is my big piece to everyone that's hiring and anyone applying, is that you just want to make sure that there's a representation of who you are as part of the companies that you're trying to work with.
No, I think that's great advice. I think I only build on that is also maybe if you don't see it, ask the question, because maybe they're in the middle of building that, like that. They're like, you are the first person. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that? For me,
listen,
if you're being transparent, like you're the first person because we're trying to make it more inclusive.
Yeah, I think if not everyone feels comfortable to ask, but if you feel comfortable to ask, then you should definitely ask the question, because I do think that the person sitting in the chair as the one being interviewed has just as much power as the one being the interviewer. And if this becomes, talking about a bigger situation of things that need to change in our industry, that is one that we need to take to task. So how can we all band together to help make that happen? I just don't want people to ever feel like they're alone in that quest.
No, I agree. So maybe the advice to the brand is for them to be transparent during the interview. If they're hiring, if they're trying to make a more diverse team, being transparent about that. Like, hey, we are slowly lacking and we're trying to build something here. And just so you know, so maybe it's from them, so that you're right. I don't think the other person should have to ask. I think the brand should be very transparent about their process, and you should find out. I always give people advice, then talk to other people on the team. Like, do they actually do what they say they're going to do? A lot of people talk. Yeah.
Totally street cred. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Find out if they actually follow through with the things that they are talking about. All right. Well, on that note, this has been an amazing conversation. I think some very great best practices and some good times were had. So thank you both so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. This is going to live on Facebook. So if anybody watching missed anything, it'll be there for about 2 weeks, and then eventually becomes a podcast as I get around to it. But it's always on YouTube, so it lives.
Thank you, Lane. I feel very honored to be next to you, both of you. You guys are rock stars. I have a lot of fun. I learn a lot of stuff too, and seriously, I can't wait to review all this and send it to all my amigos y amigas. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, thank you. And Alan, hope I see you here in the city at some point.
Yes, let's get some tequilitas.
Thanks, Elaine,
Thank you so
for
much,
having
Elaine.
me. I'm glad we made it happen after so many months. And Alan, always a pleasure to sit next to you and be in the same team and company with you. And I was just going to say as well, I always make myself available if anyone wants to have a conversation, you want to have a chat about anything at all. I would love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to reach out and we can continue the conversation. But wishing everyone the best of luck and hope they have an excellent weekend.
Absolutely. And Lauren, I'll see you in Berlin.
100%. I'll be there.
I will see you there. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to end it.